grade 9 students. For this week's lesson, we will talk about solving quadratic equations and rational algebraic equations. In this lesson, you are expected to: number 1, solves equations transformable to quadratic equations, including rational algebraic equations. And number 2, solve problems involving quadratic equations and rational algebraic equations. These objectives are based on the most essential learning competency prescribed by the Department of Education in week 4 of quarter 1. So what are we waiting for? HALINA'T MATH-TUTO! So far, what you have solved are quadratic equations in standard form. What if the quadratic equation is not written in standard form or it involves rational expressions? Can one also use the learned methods to solve such equations? Let's find out. Solving quadratic equations that are not written in standard form. Let's have an example. So we have here x times the quantity x plus 3 is equal to 28. So para ma-solve natin ang ating given equation, we need to use the distributive property. Meaning, yung x na nasa labas ay imumultiply natin sa lahat ng terms na nasa loob ng parenthesis. So we have here x times x, that is x squared. X times positive 3, that is equal to positive 3x. Then, copy is equal to 28. Okay? Now, dahil hindi pa rin siya written in standard form, we need to use the APE. So, we need to add both sides by negative 28. So, we have your x squared plus 3x plus negative 28 is equal to 28 plus negative 28. So, bring down x squared plus 3x, positive times negative 28, that is negative or minus 28 is equal to 28 plus negative 28, that is 0. Since that it is already written in standard form, so we can solve it by using factoring, completing the square, or quadratic formula. So, let's use factoring. Okay? So, x squared ito. So, paghiwalay natin, x and x. Since ang sign ng ating last term is negative, then ang sign ng binomials natin ay isang positive at isang negative. So, ano yung isang factor ni 28 na kapag sinubtract natin ay 3? Okay, that is 7 and 4. So, 7 times 4, that is 28. 7 minus 4, that is 3. So, 7, ilalagay natin sa tabi ni positive kasi susundin natin kung ano yung sign ng ating linear term. So, ang sign ng katabi ni 3x ay positive. So, si 7 ay katabi ng ating plus sign. And then, si 4 katabi ng negative. So, we have here x plus 7 times the quantity x minus 4 is equal to 0. By using the zero product property, we need to equate each factor to 0. So, we have here x plus 7 is equal to 0. X minus 4 is equal to 0. So, by again using APE, so we have here x is equal to negative 7. X minus 4 is equal to 0. So, we have here x is equal to positive 4. So, the solutions are negative 7 and positive 4. So, we need to check that yung ating nakuhang value ng x ay tatama or magiging true statement dito sa ating equations. Okay? So, let's use x is equal to negative 7. So, if x is equal to negative 7. Substitute natin si negative 7 kay x. So, we have here negative 7 times negative 7 plus 3, is it equal to 28? So, sa loob na tayo ng parenthesis. So, negative 7 plus 3, that is equal to negative 4. So, negative 7 times negative 4, is it equal to 28? So, negative 7 times negative 4, that is equal to 28. So, 28 is equal to 28. Okay? Now, let's use 4. So, if x is equal to 4. So, substitute ulit natin. So, 4 times the quantity 4 plus 3, is it equal to 28. So, sa loob muna ng parenthesis ulit. So, copy 4. So, 4 plus 3, that is 7. Is it equal to 28? So, 4 times 7, okay, that is 28, is equal to 28. Now, let's move on quadratic equations that involves rational expressions. We must recall the concept on finding the least common denominator of rational expressions. So, let's find the least common denominators. Number 1, 1/4 plus 2/3. What will be our LCD? Very good. The LCD is 12. How about the next one? 2 over x minus x plus 2 over 4. The LCD is correct. That is 4x. What about the rational expression given the equation of 1 over x plus x over 2 is equal to 11 over 6? What should be the corresponding least common denominator? Correct. The LCD is 6x. In order to simplify a rational equation, it has to be transformed into an equation without the denominators. This is made possible by using the least common denominator of all rational expressions in the equation containing such expressions. So let's solve the rational algebraic equation of 1 over x plus x over 2 is equal to 11 over 6. We all know that the LCD of this given rational algebraic equation is 6x. The LCD is generally found by multiplying all the denominators as long as they are relatively prime or no other factor will divide the expressions except 1. So, rewrite natin yung ating given. So, we have here 1 over x plus x over 2 is equal to 11 over 6. We need to multiply both sides of the given rational algebraic equation by the LCD, 6x. So, LCD divided by the denominator times the numerator. So, 6x divided by x, that is 6 times 1, we have 6. Plus, 6x divided by 2, that is 3x, times x. So, we will have here 3x squared is equal to 6x divided by 6, that is x, times 11, we have 11x. So, we need to arrange it into standard form of a quadratic equation. So, we have 3x squared minus 11x plus 6 is equal to 0. So, we can use factoring, completing the square, or by using quadratic formula para makuha natin yung value ni x. So let's use factoring. So we have here two binomials. Okay? So factor out natin si 3x squared. So we have here 3x and x. The sign of the binomials depends kung ano man ang sign na katabi ng ating last term. Since ang katabi ni 6 ay positive, then ang sign ng binomials natin ay parehas positive or parehas na negative. So para malaman natin alin sa dalawang gagamitin, we have to look at the sign na katabi naman ng ating linear term. So ang katabi ni 11x na sign ay negative. Kaya ang sign ng ating binomials ay parehas na negative. Okay? Now let's factor out 6. So ano isang factor ni 6 na kapag inad natin ang product ng inner terms at outer terms, ang sum ay negative 11x. Okay, that is 3 and 2. So ilagay natin ang 3 sa second binomial at ang 2 sa ating first binomial. So the factors of the quadratic equation 3x squared minus 11x plus 6 is equal to 0 will be the quantity 3x minus 2 times the quantity x minus 3 is equal to 0. So by zero product property, we need to equate each factor to 0. So we have here 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. Then x minus 3 is equal to 0. So 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. By APE, we have 3x is equal to 2. Divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 2/3. Next, x minus 3 is equal to 0. So again, by APE, we will come up with x is equal to positive 3. Now, the solutions that we obtain, okay, we must check it on the original equation. If the solutions or the root does not satisfy the original equation, then it is known as an extraneous root. Okay? So, let's check our solutions. Yung nakuha nating value ni x na 2/3 and 3. Okay? So, if x is equal to 2/3. So, yung 2/3, ipapalit natin sa variable x. So, we have 1 over 2/3 plus 2/3 over 2 is it equal to 11 over 6. So, 1 over 2/3, so get the reciprocal of 2/3, that is 3/2. Times 1, we have 3/2 plus 2/3 divided by 2. Okay, get the reciprocal of 2 and then multiply kay 2/3, we will come up with 2 over 6. So we need to simplify, that will become 1/3. Is it equal to 11 over 6? So kung makikita natin, 3/2 plus 1/3. So magkaiba ng denominator, we need to get the LCD. So the LCD of 2 and 3 is 6. Okay? So LCD divided by the denominator times the numerator. So 6 divided by 2, that is 3 times 3, we have 9. Next, 6 divided by 3, that is 2, times 1, we have 2. Is it equal to 11 over 6? So, dahil parehas na ng ating denominators, 9 over 6 plus 2 over 6, we can now add the numerators. So, first is to copy the common denominator and then add the numerator. So, 9 plus 2, that is 11. So, 11 over 6 is equal to 11 over 6. Okay? So, meaning 2/3 satisfies the equation or the rational algebraic equation of 1 over x plus x over 2 is equal to 11 over 6. How about if x is 3? So, substitute ulit natin. So, if x is equal to 3, okay? So, we have here 1 over 3 or 1/3 plus 3 over 2 or 3/2. Is it equal to 11 over 6? So, kung makikita natin, parehas yung ating nakuhang given dun sa nauna nating checking na if x is 2/3. So, 1/3 plus 3/2, again, dahil magkaiba ng denominator, we need to get the LCD. So, the LCD is 6. So, again, LCD divided by the denominator times the numerator. So, 1/3 becomes 2 over 6. Okay? Plus 3/2, again, LCD divided by the denominator times the numerator. Okay, so 6 divided by 2, that is 3, times 3, we have 9. So we have here 9 over 6. Is it equal to 11 over 6? So again, the same ang ating denominators. Copy the common denominator, which is 6. 2 plus 9 becomes 11.
11 over 6 is equal to 11 over 6. So meaning, x is equal to 3 makes the equation 1 over x plus x over 2 is equal to 11 over 6 true.
So far, how did you find solving some of the problem applications regarding the different concepts on quadratic equations? Let us now have a deeper understanding of some other problem conditions involving solving quadratic and rational equations. In word problems, what we need is to set a certain quadratic equation related to the condition of the problem. To facilitate the formulation of the quadratic equation, as well as the solution, we need to draw a rough diagram for the condition of the problem. In some problems, a root derived may be discarded. So what do you think are the reasons why? Let's have our first example. The length of the floor is 8 meters longer than its width, and its area is 20 square meters. Find its dimensions. So if we are talking about the length and the width, we are talking about a rectangle. Okay? If we let x as our width, then we let our length as x plus 8. The word longer than means addition. The length of the floor is 8 meters longer than its width. Okay, so ang width natin ay x and the length is 8 meters longer than its width, kaya meron tayong x plus 8. We all know that the formula of area of a rectangle is length times the width. Okay? So, tingnan natin sa ating diagram. Okay? So, we let x as the width. So, ito yung ating width. And we have x plus 8 as our length. And it says here that the area of the floor is 20 square meters. Okay? So, what we need to do is to substitute the values in our formula. So, yung ating area is 20 square meters. So, we have here 20 is equal to, ang length natin is x plus 8. Then, ang width natin ay x. So, we need to distribute x to all the terms inside the parentheses. Okay? So, 20 is equal to x times x. We have x squared. Plus, x times 8. We have here 8x. So, dahil hindi pa siya written in standard form of a quadratic equation, then, ayusin muna natin siya. So, we have here x squared plus 8x minus 20 is equal to 0. Okay? So, we can use here factoring, completing the square, or using quadratic formula para makuha natin yung value ni x. Okay? So, let's use factoring. So, factor out natin si x squared. So, we have here x and x. Now, the sign of the binomials, again, depends kung ano ang sign ng ating last term. So, ang sign na katabi na ating last term ay negative. So, meaning, ang sign ng binomials natin ay isang positive at isang negative. Now, factor out natin si 20. So, ano isang factor ni 20 na kapag sinubtract natin ay 8. So, that is 10 and 2. So, 10 times 2, that is 20. 10 minus 2, that is 8. So, susundin natin, dahil 10 is higher than 2, kung ano man ang katabi na sign ng ating linear term, yun na magiging sign ni 10. So, dahil ang katabi ng sign ng ating linear term is positive, so we have here x plus 10, and then si 2 katabi ni negative. So, the factors of x squared plus 8x minus 20 is equal to 0 will be the quantity x plus 10 times the quantity x minus 2 is equal to 0. Okay? Next, we need to use the zero product property. Okay? So, equate each factor to 0. So, we have here x plus 10 is equal to 0. Then, x minus 2 is equal to 0. So, by using APE, so we have x is equal to negative 10. X minus 2 is equal to 0 using APE again. So, we have x is equal to positive 2. Now, we need to disregard x is equal to negative 10 kasi wala namang negative sa ating measurement. So, the value that we will use is x is equal to positive 2. So, substitute na natin sa value ng width at ng length para malaman na natin kung ano ang dimensions. Okay. So, dahil ang x natin ang yung width, okay, so the value of the width or the measure of the width will be 2 meters. Okay? And it says here that the length is x plus 8. So, 2 plus 8, ang measure ng ating length ay 10 meters. Okay? So, to check, we need to substitute dun sa ating formula ng area ng rectangle. Okay? So, area is equal to length times the width. Ang dimensions natin, ang width ay 2 meters, ang length ay 10 meters. Okay? So, area is 20 square meters. Okay? Is it equal to, ang length ay 10 meters times ang width ay 2 meters. Okay? So, 10 meters times 2 meters, that will become 20 square meters. So, 20 square meters is equal to 20 square meters. Did you get the solution? Very good. Let's have another example. Anna and Leia can finish cleaning the house in 2 hours. If it takes Anna working alone 3 hours longer than it takes Leia working alone, how many hours will each girl finish the work alone? So this is an example of a work problem, and to better understand the problem, let's have a table. So we have here the time to finish the job by Leia, Anna, and if they work together, and the rate of doing the job. So if we let X as the time to finish the job ni Leia, X plus 3 kay Anna, and if they work together, they can finish cleaning the house in 2 hours. So we have the rate of doing the job ni Leia will be 1 over X, Anna will be 1 over X plus 3, and if they work together, that will be 1/2. So let's write our equation. So we have here 1 over X plus 1 over X plus 3 is equal to 1/2. So this is a rational algebraic equation. So we must find out the LCD. So the LCD of this given will be 2x times the quantity x plus 3. Okay, again, LCD divided by the denominator times the numerator. So 2x times the quantity x plus 3 divided by x, ang matitira ay 2 times the quantity x plus 3 times 1, we have 2 times the quantity x plus 3 plus 2x times the quantity x plus 3 divided by x plus 3, ang matitira ay 2x. Times 1, we have 2x is equal to 2x times the quantity x plus 3 divided by 2, ang matitira ay x times the quantity x plus 3. Times 1, we have x times the quantity x plus 3. So, let's simplify. So, yung 2 na nasa labas ay i-distribute natin sa lahat ng terms na nasa loob ng parenthesis na to. So, 2 times x, we have 2x. 2 times positive 3, we have positive 6. Then, bring down plus 2x is equal to, tulad kanina, yung x naman dito na nasa labas, ay i-distribute natin sa lahat ng terms na nasa loob ng parenthesis. So, x times x, we have x squared. X times positive 3, we have positive 3x. And then, combine like terms. 2x plus 2x, that is equal to 4x. Plus 6 is equal to x squared plus 3x. Now, we need to transform it into standard form of quadratic equation. So, we have x squared plus 3x minus 4x minus 6 is equal to 0. So, combine like terms, we have x squared minus 3x minus 4x, that is negative x. So, we have x squared minus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Again, we can solve for the value of x by using factoring, completing the square, or by using the quadratic formula. So, let's use factoring. So, okay, factor out natin si x squared. So, we have here x and x. So, since ang sign nakatabi ng ating last term dito sa x squared minus x minus 6 is equal to 0 ay negative. Therefore, ang sign ng binomials natin ay isang positive at isang negative. Now, ano yung isang factor ni 6 na kapag sinubtract natin ay 1? So, that is 3 and 2. Correct. 3 times 2, the product is 6. 3 minus 2, that is equal to 1. Okay? So, we need to follow the sign ng ating linear term. So, dahil 3 is greater than 2, so si 3 mapupunta kay negative dito sa ating binomials. At si 2 mapupunta kay positive. Okay? Next is to use the zero product property. So, equate each factor to 0. So, we have x plus 2 is equal to 0. Then, x minus 3 is equal to 0. So, by using APE, x plus 2 is equal to 0. This will become x is equal to negative 2. X minus 3 is equal to 0. We have x is equal to positive 3 by using APE. So, we need to disregard x is equal to negative 2 kasi wala naman tayong negative sa time. Okay, so we will use x is equal to positive 3. Substitute the positive value of x, which is 3. So, si Leia can finish the job in 3 hours alone, while Anna can finish the job in 6 hours alone. Let's wrap up our discussion. There are equations that are transformable to quadratic equations. These equations may be given in different forms. Hence, the procedures in transforming these equations to quadratic equations may also be different. Once the equations are transformed to quadratic equations, then they can be solved using the different methods of solving quadratic equations, such as extracting square roots, factoring, completing the square, and using the quadratic formula. An extraneous root of an equation can be derived from an original equation. However, it is not a solution of the original equation. Now, let's recall the steps that we use to transform quadratic equation that is not written in standard form. Number 1, simplify the expression. Number 2, write the resulting quadratic equation in standard form. Number 3, find the results of the resulting equation using any of the methods of solving quadratic equations. And number 4, check whether the obtained value of x make the equation true. To transform rational algebraic equations, the following procedures can be followed. Number 1, multiply both sides of the equation by the LCD or the least common denominator. Number 2, write the resulting quadratic equation in standard form. Number 3, find the results of the resulting equation using any of the methods of solving quadratic equations. And number 4, check whether the obtained value of x make the equation true. There are conditions in a given problem which, when translated to the equation form in one variable, lead to a quadratic equation and two answers are obtained. In some problem, a set of answers can be discarded. For instance, negative dimensions of rectangle and negative time are disregarded. And that is the end of our discussion. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask your math teachers. So thank you for listening.